Students, welcome to this video lecture number 17 for program BBA, subject consumer behavior for 5th semester BBA for Bangalore North University. So here we are going to study the concepts called consumer learning under the second chapter, determinants of consumer behavior. So in the previous session, in the previous video lecture, that is video lecture number 16, we discussed about the perceptual process. So basically there are three perceptual process. One is perceptual input, second one is perceptual process, next one perceptual output. So perceptual input is nothing but stimuli of an individual. Perceptual process where there are various stages where it is going to process. First one is receiving, selection, next one reporting, analyzing, and last one is perceptual output, that is in the form of actions. So these are the things we have in detail discussed in the previous video lecture. And the present learning objective of this session is the students will be able to understand the role of learning process on individual buying behavior. Students will be able to understand the role of learning process on individual buying behavior. This is the outcome of this session. Let us see what is the meaning of learning. Learning, it is nothing but it is the process by which persons acquire the purchase and consumption knowledge as well as experiences that they apply to future related behavior is called as learning. So in case of learning, an individual is going to get the information about the products in the form of purchases and consumption knowledge as well as experiences, and he is going to make experiences in the future purchases also that constitute learning. And learning can be defined as a relatively enduring change in the behavior due to experience. So due to purchasing of products or services, out of these experiences there is a change in the behavior of a consumer in the future references also that constitute learning. Therefore, learning includes following things. That is, learning involves a change in behavior. Obviously, a learning is going to change in the behavior of a consumer from one purchases to another purchases. This is due to because of experience that he is going to make at the time of purchasing the products or services. Next one is, it is a process which regularly evolves and changes as a result of new acquired knowledge. Obviously, whenever he is going to make purchases from one purchases to next purchases, he is going to get the various knowledge in with regard to the product information as well as product usage. This is called as experience. So obviously, he is going to make changes in the existing knowledge to another knowledge, that is in the process of acquiring, purchasing new products or services. And learning happens by getting information from reading books, newspaper, magazines, or articles, and through discussions also. So how we can get the information? Learning can be acquired by a consumer in the form of reading books. By reading various books, he is going to get the various ideas about the products or services apart from existing knowledge over the products, and through newspaper is going to get the various information about the products through magazines, articles, or through discussions with peers or with relatives or references groups. He is going to get the various information. And another focus of learning of consumer is it can comes from practice or experience. Even practice of experience, he is going to learn many things from the point of view of commercial about the products or services. So through the practices or experience, he is going to change his behavior in the form of learning. And following are the learning process. That is, first one is drive, and second one is motivation, third one is cues, fourth one is response, and reinforcement and retention. So in following slides, we will discuss in detail about these points. First one, drive. Drive is nothing but it is said to be any strong stimuli that impels the action. So for any consumer, there should be a stimuli or driving force where he is going to make the purchases or he is going to make the learnings through various sources. So the drive arises in an individual and us to respond to stimuli and it forms the basis of motivation. So there is a lot of differences between motive and drive. In next point, we will discuss about the meaning of motivation. So motivation learning comes because of motivation, and motivation acts an incentive to learn. Because of motivation only, a consumer is going to learn many things. So learning occurs because of motivation. As I said, motivation acts an incentive to learn. Suppose if a person or if a young man wants to purchase the bike, he is motivated in getting all the information about the information relating to a bike. That is the reason behind of motivation, and he is going to learn many things out of these information about the bike. And next one is cues. Cues stimuli may be any object existing in the environment as perceived by the consumer. So, as per consumer perception, cues is nothing but it is a stimuli of any object in existing in the his environment. So, if motive stimulate the learning process, it is the cues which serves the purpose for stimuli and give directions to these motives. So, the marketer or manufacturer has to be more cautious in the market about the cues of the consumers, which stimulate and will increase the probability of a specific responses is called as cues and response. So response also plays a very important role in identifying the learning process of a consumer. So response is nothing but the stimuli will result in the response. How people react to a drive or cue and how consumer behave constitute their response. So how a consumer is going to behave in a particular way that constitutes responses. So usually what happens, the response may be in the form of physical form or it may be any complex phenomena such as attitudes of a consumer and familiarity about the products and perception what he perceives about the products or services. Therefore learning can place even when responses are not over. Next one, reinforcement. So reinforcement, it refers to those environmental events which increases the likelihood of specific responses occurring in future as a result of particular cues or stimuli. So it refers to environmental events. Reinforcement is nothing but environmental events and which increases the likelihood of a specific response occurring in the future as a result of particular cues or stimuli. So therefore, it is a very basic condition of learning. Reinforcement is the very basic condition of learning, and without reinforcement, you cannot observe any measurable modification of the behavior of an individual consumers. So therefore, the role of reinforcement in the learning has been highlighted through various having a cues and stimulus of the products or services. Next one, retention. Retention is nothing but it is the stability of learned behavior maintained by the individual over a period of time is called as retention. So therefore, retention is well-learned response which is achieved with the passage of time. Thus, under repeated condition, a positive reinforcement, there is a tendency for the conditioned response to continue for a longer period of time. Therefore, a consumer is very much satisfied with particular product or brand and they uses the reinforcement using the products or services. So out of these various process of learning, I have prepared some MCQs so that it can be better understanding of process of learning. The first one is the process of acquiring purchase and consumption knowledge that applies to future behavior is known as consumer learning, shaping, stimulus generalization, family branding. Obviously, it is consumer learning where the consumer is going to acquire the purchases information as well as consumption knowledge and that is going to place in the future behavior also. What increases the probability that specific responses will follow a certain cue? that is information overload, reinforcement, passive learning, mega branding. As I said, that reinforcement increases the probability that specific responses will follow certain cues, is called as reinforcement. What type of stimulus is designed to discourage a specific behavior? That is passive learning, retrieval, punishment, and imagery. So answer is punishment. So punishment stimulus is designed to discourage the specific behavior. So punishment gives the a consumer or individual to discourage of a specific behavior to do or not to do about the products or services. Dash stimuli can be object existing in the environment as perceived by the individual. Drive, motivation, cue, none of the above. So answer is Q. Q stimuli can be any object existing in the environment as perceived by the individual. So dash is the closely related to psychological process motivation. Psychological process is nothing but purely a mental characteristics of an individual or a consumer at the time of purchasing the products or services or buying behavior. Therefore, the answer is reinforcement. So reinforcement is closely related to the psychological process of motivation of an individual and not the retention or motivation, and the option D is none of the above. That is not a reinforcement, retention, or motivation. Hence, the answer is reinforcement. And these are the references I have taken to get the information about learning process. So, thank you for watching this video.